Hello historians, and welcome back to another episode of Let's Explore World of Warcraft Classic. Today we explore the final Alliance only area, Duskwood, and complete the dungeon Stockades. Before we begin, let's open the next book for Warcraft Storytime. This book is found in the Ironforge Library and is titled Charge of the Dragonflights. After finishing the shaping of Azeroth, the Titans prepared to leave. Before doing so, they needed the greatest species to watch over Kalimdor just in case any force would threaten it. In this age, this was the Dragonflights. 5 flights were chosen to shepherd the world. The Titans imbued a portion of their power into the leaders of each flight, and they became known as the Great Aspects or Dragon Aspects. Aman'Thul the Highfather bestowed his power to Nosdormu, the Bronze Dragon, in order to guard time itself and the ever-spinning pathways of fate and destiny. Nosdormu became known as the Timeless One. Eonar, the Titan of Life, gave her power to Alexstrasza, the Red Dragon. She would become known as the Lifebinder and would safeguard all living creatures of the world. Due to her wisdom and limitless compassion, she was crowned Dragon Queen and rule over her kind. Eonar also blessed Alexstrasza's sister, the Green Dragon Ysera. She fell into a trance, bound to the waking dream of creation. Known as the Dreamer, she would watch over the wilds of the world in her realm, the Emerald Dream. Norgannon, the Titan of Lore and Magic, blessed Malygos, the Blue Dragon. He would be known as the Spellweaver, Guardian of Magic and the Hidden Arcanum. Khaz'goroth, the Titan Shaper and Forger of the World, blessed Neltharion the Black Dragon. Known as the Earth Warder, he was given dominion over the earth and the deep places of the world. He embodied the strength of the world and was Alexstrasza's greatest supporter. With the dragons empowered and tasked with defending the world, the Titans left Azeroth. Unfortunately, it would only be a matter of time until Sargeras found the New World. Now that we know a little more about how the dragon aspects came to be, we can begin the exploration of Duskwood. In Darkshire, we can talk to Watcher Bacchus patrolling the North Road. If we see anything suspicious, we should report it to a Watcher immediately and not take it on ourselves. They won't be responsible for anything terrible happening to us. He knows we'll ignore that advice anyway, since we are clearly the adventurer type. We give him the letter and let him know Trias sent us. If we are working for him, we are welcome to fight whatever monstrosities we like, since we are most likely to handle it if we hang around the likes of him. There is always Defias activity, but they tend to keep to themselves. There was an odd occurrence at Adel's Stead, where some of their agents gathered. Something big must have gone down. We can check there first and bring back anything we find. Heading back into town, we can enter the house on the left and talk to Madame Eva. Last night, she had a premonition that her granddaughter was in danger. After engaging in a trance, she discovered a clue: the name of Stalvan. We should check with the town hall clerk to find out anything more about Stalvan. With the magical taint spreading through the forest, we need self-protection. There is a great danger waiting patiently for us in the future. She can make us a totem of infliction, which will harm those who attempt violence against us if we bring her the ingredients. Her granddaughter is a reagent vendor, and her grandson is a tailoring supplies vendor. Upstairs is 2 more tailoring supplies vendors, each with their own unique tailoring pattern. Across the road south, next to another house, is Kalor. Master Caravan's quest is to eradicate evil and heresy from Duskwood, and through their efforts the people are kept safe. If we wish to prove ourselves to the Caravan, we need to do so with action. We can start with taking down some Shadow Weaver Worgen. Inside the house, we can talk to Elaine Caravan. Something is wrong at Ravenhill. There is someone or something haunting the buildings. There are moving shadows and even a light spotted in one of the windows. For the safety of Duskwood, we need to find out what is at Ravenhill. There's an old man that used to come to town for supplies, but he hasn't been seen in a while. He lives in the shack by the Ravenhill Cemetery. Maybe we should check on him. Sven and his followers keep a camp at the northwest edge of Duskwood. They cannot spare any men to fetch supplies, so could we deliver a package to him? There's also a mushroom seller in here. Up the hill to the east, we can find an engineering supplies vendor outside the house to the right. Inside the house is an engineering trainer. Further up the hill is the flight master. The next house to the right has Victori Prism Antras inside. He's building a device to look towards the stars in order to find the truth, beyond magic, on what has caused the transformation of the forest. The first step of the blueprint needs a bronze tube that can be made by any engineer. Going back west, we can check around the corner of the inn to find a bower. Outside the town hall, we can talk to Commander Althea Ebenlock. As commander of the Night Watch, it is her duty to protect Darkshire. Stormwind has retracted all commissioned guards. We can assist the Night Watch by going south to the Tranquil Gardens and thwarting the undead threat there. Inside the inn, we find a general goods vendor, the bartender we got the moonshine from, and Chef Grawl. Seasoned wolf kebabs are a favorite around here. He needs wolf flanks and seasoning to make some. Any wolf around here can provide the flanks, and we can grab the seasoning from the Stormwind flower shop. Upstairs is a trade supplies vendor. We can talk to Clerk Daltrey in the town hall. He'll check the registry for a Stalvan. The last known address for a Stalvan mismantle is in Moonbrook Schoolhouse in Westfall. If we head to Moonbrook, hopefully we can bring back something back to update the records. Further inside, we can talk to Councilman Millstrip. Dextrin Ward was imprisoned by the nobles of Stormwind instead of executed as per Lord Ebonlock's sentencing. Ward was selling bodies from the cemetery to Morbant Fell, a crime punishable by death. We've been tasked to assassinate Ward in the Stockades and return his hand as proof. In the armory, we can find a blacksmith trainer, an armorer selling limited items, and a weaponsmith selling limited items. Outside is a mining trainer, and I finally remembered to learn how to smelt iron. I take a quick trip to Stormwind and buy some bronze tubes from the auction house for my friend and I. Back to Darkshire, we can give the tube to Victory. The first step is complete. We now need to find a way to reflect light. There is a woman named Mary who is known for carrying a looking glass. Perhaps we can ask her to borrow it for the project. Let's head out now and start these quests. We go a little south of Darkshire and find a house with a banshee in it called Blind Mary. She used to own a looking glass. After the incident, she discarded it behind the barn and an insane ghoul who roams the area most likely picked it up. We go a bit more south to the Tranquil Garden Cemetery and find the insane ghoul behind the building. It goes down and we grab the looking glass. While we are here, we take out the 8 skeletal warriors and 6 skeletal mages for the night watch. Going northwest, we can take out the 6 Nightbane Shadow Weavers in the Brightwood Grove. Along the river, we kill spiders and wolves for ingredients, heading west until we reach the cemetery and the shack Abercrombie is in. He's a bit confused on why the caravans are asking about him, but explains the roads are too dangerous to head into town. Perhaps we can do a few favors for him. He needs supplies from Darkshire, but in his own words, he's just too old and feeble to make the trip. We can ask Madame Eva for Ghost Head Threat for him. At the northern edge of the cemetery, we can find a weathered grave marker. It simply reads Morgan Lattimore, and with more examination we can see the grave has been disturbed. We can ask someone in Darkshire for more information on Morgan Lattimore. Continuing west, killing off more wildlife, we find the camp in the northwest corner and Sven Jorgen. We can give him the supplies from Darkshire and he gives us a small reward for the trouble of bringing it to him. He used to work in a farm on the southeast until dark riders from Deadwind Pass came to the farm and slaughtered his family. A shadowy figure was skulking near his barn, but fled before he could catch them since he was prioritizing the Dark Riders. He wants us to check around the barn for anything the figure might have hidden. Lars and Sven are going to be busy with the necromancer to the east. They have to hunt their own food, and starving wolves come from the woods whenever they smell the fresh meat. If we could get rid of some of the nuisances, they could have an easier time of it here. We head south from this camp and finish collecting the 5 vials of spider venom. Just south of the cemetery is an abandoned town called Ravenhill where we can find Jitters. There is no monster here, just Jitters clearly hiding from something. He's been hiding here for weeks without any proper food. He'll trade for a decent meal. Chef Grawl in Darkshire makes very good dusty crab cakes. My friend helps me take out Black Widow spires until I have the 8 pristine silk I need for my mage robe. We catch sight of a level 35 abomination making a run for it to the main road. This is Stitches, and he appears every time someone finishes the quest to make him, making the main road incredibly dangerous at random times. Best to keep an eye out when leaving and returning to Darkshire. Expect me to say we've returned to Darkshire a lot this video because there's a lot of fetch quests in Duskwood. We can let Kalar know we've taken out the worgen he wanted. He's impressed and wonders if he can find more suitable challenges for our abilities. The worgen seem to just appear out of nowhere, but it's just another concern facing Darkshire. The Dark Runners make up the bulk of the worgen forces in Duskwood. They are overrunning the grove and the rotting orchard. We can continue to help by thinning their numbers. Althea is satisfied with our undead eradication so far. Next, she'll need us to go to the Ravenhill Cemetery and take out the undead infestation there as well, starting with the skeletal fiends and horrors. Some can also be found in the Tranquil Garden Cemetery in smaller numbers. We can ask Sira von Indy about Morgan Lattimore. His story is a long and sad tale. Sira knew Morgan from before he left for war, but hadn't seen him after. A good, noble man with a bad ending. He looks through his shelves until he finds a book. If we want to know more, we can ask Althea. She's handled the trouble around Morgan lately. Althea knows Morgan as Mortalim. A wandering undead calling itself Mortalim has been spotted in Duskwood. It's most likely the body of Morgan Lattimore and has been causing problems by attacking the watchmen on patrol and killing people. Mortalim wanders the cemetery in a meandering path. If we can take down the undead and bring back his skull to Althea. I will absolutely count this as a head. We can open the book she gave us titled The Story of Morgan Lattimore. He worked as a knight, fighting for the innocent, poor, and afflicted. For many years he worked to bring relief to the suffering and justice to evildoers. He married Lise when he was 18 and they had 3 children, 1 son and 2 daughters. Morgan was 32 when war came. He was called to Lordaeron to fight alongside Uther the Lightbringer. Years passed and the war dragged on, leaving Morgan to witness the disbanding of the Knights of the Silver Hand, the death of Uther, and the spread of the plague. Morgan would finally return home but find it changed. Undead and other dark forces had corrupted the forest. Destroyed houses and farms dotted the area, and the Ravenhill Cemetery was massive. He found his own home in ruins and went to the village to try to find his wife and children. No one knew anything about his family, and someone said he could search the cemetery for a gravestone. Morgan refused to believe his family was dead and searched every farm and house in Duskwood for them. He decided to check Lakeshire for them, but before he left, he checked the cemetery. Morgan spent hours checking the gravestones, getting more and more distraught as he recognized names. He found a plot with 3 small gravestones and cleared off the most prominent one to find the carving beneath: Lise Lattimore. His dismay turned to grief and he fell to his knees weeping. After hours of sobbing apologies and begging for forgiveness, something seemed to snap and he began to lash out. Morgan took out his own sword and began to strike the gravestones in a blind rage. Graveyard attendants tried to restrain him, but Morgan turned on them in his rage and killed them. After the rage passed, Morgan came back to himself to see his sword thrust into one of the attendants. Driven to the brink, he took his own life. The bodies were found the next day and Morgan was hastily buried in the outskirts of the cemetery. Because of his actions and grief, Morgan did not die a peaceful death and returned as a restless undead. Mordelum now roams Duskwood with mindless vengeance and hatred. He is known to murder indiscriminately. We can talk to Chef Grawl about getting some dusty crab cakes made for us. There is no crab in these cakes. Instead, it's spider legs. It gives them a tangy flavor. We can give him gooey spider legs to make a few. After all the spiders we just killed for venom and silk, we have plenty of legs. He can season them with his secret spice and put them on the skillet for a while. The recipe for dusty crab cakes are a specialty, so he'll give us a recipe for something else that uses the gooey legs. The cakes are now ready and we can bring them to Jitters. We can ask Madame Eva about the ghost head thread. She doesn't have any, but can make more if we bring ghost hair. We can bring a spectral comb to Blind Mary and have her comb her hair with it. Then we can bring the comb back with the gathered hair. We can bring the looking glass to Victory, which will work perfectly for his blueprint. The last item he needs is a lens of some sort. The only one large enough will be hard to acquire. There is an ogre called Zarkvul in the mound to the south. We can bring back his monocle to use as a lens. Before continuing in Duskwood, I head to Stormwind to pick up the seasoning we need and hand in the pristine spider silk to Wynne Larson. She'll get right to work making the robe, wandering her shop using various spools to sew it. She made 2 different options with all the silk we brought, making a joke that she was going to keep the extra silk. I, of course, picked the blouse with the more intellect on it. I'll wear this one this time, so no need to sell her own robe she just made. Back in Duskwood, we can head back to Blind Mary. She ripped her own eyes out, being unable to look at herself after becoming a banshee. We offer the comb, and she's impressed that it can glide through her hair considering how damaged it is. The comb is too much and she wants us to take it back. I didn't think we'd be triggering a PTSD episode in a ghost for some thread today. We bring the comb back to Madame Eva, who can make a few spools of thread with it. She'll pay us for the extra strands. The thread has 1,000 uses, from binding evil spirits to sewing life into inanimate objects. I wonder why Abercrombie needed this, but I suppose the graveyard he lives next to is covered with undead. Going back to Ravenhill Cemetery will also get to be familiar, since we'll be forward and back from Darkshire to the cemetery a lot. I can see why they made a quest hub in Ravenhill and Cataclysm. Back to the Grove, we take out the 12 Nightbane Darkrunners. Back along the river, we take out the 8 Rabid Direwolves, finish getting the lean flanks for the cooking recipe, and we finish the 12 Starving Direwolves. We visit Abercrombie and give him the ghost hair thread, which he will apparently use to keep spirits out of his house. He gives us a reward for our good deed of getting the thread for him. He now wants a bottle of zombie juice, a strong liquor the inn in Darkshire sells. I don't know why he didn't ask for this when we went the first time. Back to Lars, we let him know we thinned the wolves. Without having to fend off the wolves, they can now focus their efforts on taking down Morbin Fell. He gives us some flash charges the town gave them. We give Jitters the crab cakes he asked for. He offers to pay us for grabbing them for him. Into the cemetery, we start taking out the skeletons. We get the 10 skeleton fingers while doing this. The 15 skeletal horrors go down, then the 15 skeletal fiends. We find Mortalim roaming around and decide to test our luck taking him down. He goes down easy even with being an elite mob, and we grab his skull, count 41. Heading back to Darkshire, we find Watcher Dodds in a small camp along the road. Spiders have taken over the western border and are too much for the Watch to handle as they are lacking the manpower to send. He can't promise anything of great value, but he'll reward us if we could help him thin the spiders. In the nearby farm, we can find a dirt mound and dig around it for a book. It has no title, but information inside that Sven would like to know. Back in Darkshire, we let Calor know about the Worgen we killed. Though we keep taking them down, it feels as if the numbers of Worgen are inexhaustible. What draws them here and why? He thinks we are ready to take on the toughest Worgen in the woods. These have settled in the caves and mines to the south. Althea appreciates our efforts in helping the Night Watch with the undead. There is still more to do, however. She now needs us to kill plague spreaders in the mausoleum on the eastern side of the cemetery. We give her the skull of Mortalim and she tells us that this is not a small accomplishment. She thanks us on behalf of the Night Watch and Darkshire for taking him down. There's one small matter left though. She's about to tell me before Stitches decides to make an appearance. Well, while the Watch is busy with that, we can talk to Tavern Keep Schmitz. He doesn't usually get requests for zombie juice since it's so strong. If we can get some rot blossoms, he can make some for us. The blossoms grow within the skulls of skeletal horrors and fiends. Really wish we had this quest before killing 30 of them already. Oh well. We give the wolf flanks to the chef. We can enjoy our sample and a copy of the recipe. Looks like the Watch is done with Stitches, so back to Althea. Morgan believed his entire family dead, but Sarah Lattimore survived. She is now a Watcher and has been troubled by the circumstances around her father. We can let her know the news of Mortalim's demise. We talk to Watcher Lattimore, and she's regretful she wasn't able to talk to her father before the events that happened. She gives us a ring to bring to Morgan's grave to hopefully let him know that she's alive and doesn't blame him for his actions, and thanks us for helping lay him to rest. We take a quick trip to Moonbrook to look for a box at the school there. We open the footlocker and find an unsent letter inside. It also spawns a forlorn spirit who assaults us. Reading the letter, it's to a headmaster Krillian. Stalvan was apprenticed to him in Stormwind and was traveling for experience. He decided to settle in Moonbrook and took to tutoring the local children. It went so well that the town mayor built the school for him to run. Stalvan was originally from Silverpine before the Third War. We head to the Duskwood border and start taking out the spiders we need while heading north. We approach Sven's camp, so I make sure to read the book before handing it over. Whoever was writing it was absolutely terrified of something and using the journal as a calming aid. The writer had found a scythe in Roland's Doom, and seemed to be partially the origin of the cursed state of Duskwood. They were the ones to pull the scythe free of its resting place. Once the scythe was free, a nebulous they appeared and attacked the men in the mine. Men were taken by tooth and claw as they tried to flee the mine. The writer doesn't know why they survived that night, if it was their overly cautious nature or if it was the scythe. They have since lost the scythe, but it was responsible for calling the Worgen to Duskwood. After fleeing the mine, they hid within Sven's barn for days without making their presence known. The farmers seemed decent folk, and perhaps they would have helped them, but after the mine incident it is hard to trust. We give the book to Sven, who reads it quickly. The figure is a witness to the death of his family. Sven would like to question them if only he knew their identity. We need to help find the owner of this book by showing it to the residents of Darkshire in hopes that someone knows who owned the book. We bring the ring to Morgan's grave. His spirit recognizes it, and the weight is lifted that he knows one of his children still lives. He gives us his sword as his spirit will no longer need it. It is forged to do good, and Morgan is no longer worthy of it. His spirit appears and says he will cling to the love of his daughter and hopes he receives forgiveness for his actions. We finish off the spiders we need, then head to the cemetery to start taking down ghouls. Both of these mausoleum chambers have random spawns, so we spend time clearing them out for ghoul fangs while we wait for plague spreaders to respawn. We finish off the 20 plague spreaders first, then finish gathering the 10 ghoul fangs. Since we are here, we clear out the skeletons again until we have the 8 rot blossoms. Back to Darkshire, we can give the blossoms to Smits. He'll let Althea know we cleared out more skeletons. The Night Watch will be glad to know we are helping keep back the tide of the undead. He hands us the zombie juice and warns us it's strong enough to raise the dead. Althea thanks us for clearing out more undead and appreciates our dedication. The 10-slot bag is nice too. We can give Daltrey the unsent letter from Stalvan. It's odd that letter never got delivered, but he'll update the registry. Partially scratched out is a brief stay in Goldshire for Stalvan. We can check there for anything from him. We can give all the ingredients we've collected to Madame Eva. This totem will help protect us from the evil in Azeroth, so we can take comfort in its magic when we feel threatened. She sees much bloodshed in our future, so we must muster our courage. This offhand is interesting since it has a chance to cause damage when struck, but for the most part would have been more useful as a trinket than an offhand. We can ask Eva about the journal to divine who the owner is. She can sense Sven and his need for revenge, but the original owner's presence is faint. The only thing she can glean from the original owner is that they're not from Darkshire. Maybe others in the town can help pinpoint the owner, as even though the owner is not from Darkshire, the book itself was purchased here. We can talk to Daltrey, who says he sells blank books. He remembers who he sold to in the last few months. The person who bought this book was a jittery, nervous man. We should ask at the inn since maybe someone saw a jittery person there in the last month. Smiths can help us if we can describe who we're looking for, as they don't get that much business as they used to. The person who has this book tended to sit at the bar to write and left in a hurry muttering about something hunting them. He headed west out of town, and the next settlement that way is Raven Hill. Smiths hopes we can find who we're looking for, as it's dangerous outside Darkshore these days. Well, I wonder who we know in Raven Hill that is not native to Darkshire and is a nervous, jittery person. Blizzard wasn't even being subtle for this quest, were they? We head to Goldshire and talk to innkeeper Farley about Stalvan. The name sounds familiar to him. Many years ago, a messenger came seeking refuge from bad weather. At midnight, he came running, screaming down the stairs and ran out into the night still in his bedclothes. The letters he had were forgotten in the chest in his room, and he never returned for them. One is from Stalvan, intended for the Canal District. Let's read the letter while on our way to Stormwind. Stalvan temporarily lived in the inn in Goldshire due to the state Moonbrook fell into. He is applying as a tutor for a noble's children, citing his time at Moonbrook School as reference. Stalvan will also travel to meet them in person later, so a noble in Stormwind Canal is our best lead. Nearby the park we can find caretaker Folsom and give him the letter we found. He doesn't seem too pleased to get it. His father was the caretaker before him and had to mop up the massacre that happened here. This used to be the estate of the Flintridge family, but their funds are gone and possessions are up for auction. We can pick through it if we want to learn more. In one of the crates we find a torn journal page lost at the bottom of it. It also spawns a ghost again. The family had 2 children, a boy named Giles and an older girl named Tiliwa. She's been given an arranged marriage and the writer notes her beauty. The family had a lodge in Eastvale, near the Redridge border, and the writer plans to write more there. While we're back in Stormwind, let's get the quest we passed up in Old Town. Nikova Rascal's grandson took up arms and became a guard for the Stockades when the army was sent to the front. He was only 14. He reprimanded the prisoners for using their wool blankets to make Defias masks, so they stabbed him. She wants revenge, so we can collect the masks for her. Outside a house in Eastvale, we can talk to Marshal Haggard. His eyes are going bad, so we let him feel the torn page we brought. He can remember a similar style of writing. There is a bundle of parchment in a chest here that matches the writing. He couldn't finish reading it himself since his eyesight faded, but if we bring him the parchment, he'll help us discover what we can about Stalvan from it. Grabbing this journal page in the bedroom upstairs spawns another ghost. They really don't want me digging into this guy's past, huh? The small note catches a glimpse into the romantic feelings the writer was starting to have for Tiliwa, who treated them kindly. We give the page to Haggard, who tells us that Innkeeper Smiths in Darkshire is an expert in local lore. He might be able to point us in the right direction with this new page. If that's true, I don't know why Daltrey didn't direct us there from the start. Would have saved a bunch of running around. Running back to Darkshire, I noticed a goblin vendor on the side of the North Road. He's selling some limited items and an alchemy recipe. Smiths is glad to hear about Haggard, who's close to being completely blind, and is willing to take a look at the journal. He instantly recognizes the writing since he's been following the legend of Stalvan for years. Nobles were slaughtered years ago when he was still in the guard, and he found pages with the same writing but couldn't pin it to the crazy man in the woods. With all our pages, we can bring it to Althea and fill her in. The muddy pages reveal that Stalvan was convinced that Tiliwa also loved him back, even though he never confessed or asked her. Predictably, when she brought a suitor home and snubbed him as just her tutor and an old man, he flew into a rage, implying he killed the family due to unrequited feelings of love. Althea is busy, understandably since she's leading the guard, but will let us explain what we found. She's impressed with the amount of information we found. Stalvan has been on the radar for a while, but they didn't have any proof of his guilt until now. To make sure, we can compare the notes with the registry entry to prove the handwriting is the same. Giving the pages to Daltrey, he confirms the writing is indeed one and the same. We can let Althea know. Stalvan lives north of Darkshire in a cottage. Who knows what other crimes and victims he has claimed in his depravity. We can bring back his family ring as proof of demise and let Madame Eva take a look as she started this whole investigation with her premonition. We head north to the Mistmantle Manor. In the field here we can find the Tear of Tilloa, which has a much darker meaning now that we know who Tilloa is. Stalvan is very protective of this flower, I guess, because he comes running out to stop us. Well, we needed to kill him anyway. We grab his ring and head to Madame Eva. She knows Stalvan is dead as a wave of hope rippled through the forest. We are brave and cunning for being able to take him down, and Duskwood is free of his bloodthirst. The ring is also nice since it helps counteract the negative stamina from my other ring. We head south now and clear out the mine of Worgen. We find one called Gutspill that didn't drop anything, and out of curiosity I looked it up. He's for the level 30 warrior quest. We clear out the cave of the 8 tainted ones, not finding a scythe lost here either, and grab the 8 Vilefangs outside. I try to hand in the spider quest, but the watch camp is dead again. Looks like Stitches was here recently. We can try again later. We talk to Jitters and show him the book. He confesses that he wrote it, but it's only half the story. It was left behind when he fled the farm, and he has since penned a complete journal. We can bring it to Sven to spare Jitters from confronting Sven himself. We can now read the entire story. Jitters begins by explaining the loss of the previous journal and that the writing soothes his madness and guilt, a confession for his conscience. It begins with the cursed scythe in the mines. Before that, the Defias was content with Duskwood and it was no more dangerous than Northshire. Roland's doom became the epicenter of the Worgen invasion of the area. He wishes he had never touched the rune-carved shaft, but regrets will not free him from his misery. Once free, the scythe warped the very reality around them, but they didn't have long to wonder at this change, as this is when the Worgen came. They came from dark holes above and below, taking men with tooth and claw. They tried to flee, but Jitters thinks he might have been the only one to survive. It could not have been the scythe, he lost it in the mad scramble to flee, but perhaps the Worgen gave him the rare courtesy as their summoner. It is not only the Worgen tainting the woods, but also the fiends from Deadwind Pass. After surviving his flight from the mines, he hid in Sven's barn. He never revealed himself to the family, but they looked like good folk that would have helped him. Staying hidden saved his life. Sven left for Darkshire, promising to bring back toys and sweets. It would be the last time he saw his family alive. Jitters still feels survivor's guilt for not coming to the aid of the family, even though it would have been his certain death as well. Instead, he had to witness the gruesome actions of the Dark Riders against the innocent family. It's Jitters' fault the Riders had come. They had come to find the Scythe of Elune, the only question they asked the family before beginning the slaughter, the very same scythe Jitters had unearthed only a few days ago. Jitters wished he knew the name of Sven's wife, as he is the only witness to her incredible bravery that day. Of course she knew nothing of the scythe, but once she knew they were looking for it, she instantly acted. If only the ruse had worked. She bluffed that she knew of the scythe with impeccable confidence. It seemed to work, the riders asking where it was. She offered to lead them to it and to leave the children behind as they would slow them down. In that moment, Jitters prayed with his entire being that the riders would believe her. Alas, the riders used some kind of orb that crafted a white hand which grabbed her head and squeezed. She turned rigid and, with her mouth open wide, no scream came from it. The hand released her, and after a moment, a voice resounded from the orb. She lies. She has not seen the scythe. This sealed the fate of the family. The order is given to kill them. It is only hours later that Sven returned to see the grim scene left behind. Jitters was too afraid to reveal himself even then and fled. He kept moving from place to place, fearing the riders finding him. Losing the scythe probably also saved his life, but the riders will find it eventually. South of Raven Hill is the farm Adelstead. In the house here we can pick up the Defias docket for the missing diplomat. The first plan failed, the target fleeing with the help of some Stormwind citizens before they could capture him. Plan 2 is already underway as a contingency. Their man in Menethil has already set the stage and they can capture the target once he sets sail. They will attack closer to the destination than Menethil, so they can hand the target off to their allies awaiting them. They have been described as creatures. This will help the Defias take back Stormwind somehow. We can bring Sven the completed journal, which explains much to him. The Dark Riders have been seen around Duskwood and talking to Morbid Fell in the cemetery. Morbid Fell is a necromancer and now ally of the Dark Riders. We need to take down Fell, but Sven would gauge our strength first. We need to take down his minions first to prove our bravery and skill. On the other side of the cemetery, we can bring Abercrombie his zombie juice. He claims he's going to drink it. The mask starts to slip when he accidentally calls us foolish. He claims the ghouls have been knocking at his door. He's going to make a scarecrow for ghouls. He needs ghoul ribs to do so from the mindless ghouls he's attempting to scare away. Right. Back to the cemetery to kill more undead. This constant back and forth between Ravenhill Cemetery and Darkshire reminds me of a song. While we were killing ghouls, we picked up the old history book, which I accidentally forgot to record. It has the history of Stormwind printed on the spine, and a stamp of the Stormwind Library on the front page. We can return the book. We grab the 7 ribs we need for Abercrombie. We hand them off, and he claims to hear ghouls scurrying around his hut, even though I haven't seen undead past the cemetery fences around here. He lost a crate to the ogres a few weeks back that is full of tools and herbs. They most likely took it and brought it back to their mound. He wants us to retrieve it. We decided to go back to Darkshire first, just in time for another Stitches attack. We give Bacchus the Defias docket, and he's glad we made it back safe. These documents look pretty official as far as Defias documents go. There is still the risk it's a dupe, but it looks too complicated for that. Complicated enough that he shouldn't even be looking at it. We need to get it back to Trias right away so he can figure out what the document means. Bacchus also wants us to make sure no one knows he helped, since if his superiors found out he kept information like this away from them, he could be killed. We can let Calor know we took out the Worgen. He admits he thought we wouldn't be able to get this far, but he'll gladly write a letter of recommendation for Master Caravan to join his struggle. He offers us the letter and says a few more like us and they'll rival the Night Watch. This implied that the Caravans aren't working with the Night Watch. We can read the note, and it just explains we're recommended to be a warrior of light against the undead and demons in the area, as well as investigate suspicious citizens. We can give the note to Jonathan Caravan, who apologizes for being curt as he is a busy man. It isn't easy to impress Calor or get his recommendation. There is a battle against the undead demons and men who would aid them. We should be wary and trust no one not aiding their cause. He doesn't have anything else for us to do, so maybe this will continue later. We can take a quick trip to Stormwind to bring Trias the Defias documents. The documents are an interesting read, and Trias recognizes the name Fist. He knows a Dashel Stonefist, known as just Fist in some circles since he likes to brawl. We can find him in Old Town at the center and persuade him to help us. He won't give up the information willingly. We can head to Old Town and find Dashel in the back alley area. He's not too impressed we're fishing for information. He decides to call some friends to teach us a lesson. I wasn't expecting the 2 ads, so my friend isn't around to help, but I managed to beat Dashel and make him rethink threatening me. He confirms that he was at Adelstead a few weeks ago, but doesn't know much about Plan B. Dashel was enacting Plan A, which failed to the intervention of adventurers. The guy on Plan B is Slim in Menethil Harbor. We can bring the old book to Milton at the library. This book has been missing since before the reconstruction of the city. It needs to be restored, but it'll be added to the collection once again. If we don't mind helping again, he has a task for us. Alterac fell after the Great War and it had a large collection of books. He wants us to help recover what they can from the ruins before it's lost. We can meet Lord Master Dibbs in South Shore to get direction on where the books are in the ruins. Back to Trias, we can let him know what we learned from Dashel. We can follow the lead to Menethil and Slim. He has a retired contact in the wetlands that can help us if we name drop Trias. His contact is named Mikhail, and he said he wanted to be a bartender. We can ask him to help find Slim and figure out what he knows about the kidnapped diplomat. The information we need is where they've taken him, or at least which diplomat it is. The docket doesn't mention what they would do with him once he's been taken. We can grab the quest from Colin now. He keeps being asked about the Stone Talon Mountains. It seems to be a popular place to seek adventure. Within the Charred Vale, there was a species of basilisk with scales that made a good reagent for spells. Hopefully, a few of them still exist with the Vale burned down. Since I'm level 32, I check for new training and get the next rank of Frostbolt. The chef in the Blue Recluse will talk to us now. Before he worked here, he was trained by one of the best chefs and innkeepers he's ever met named James Heil. James and his brother Vincent went to work in the tavern in Menethil Harbor. He wonders how they are doing. If we head that way, he'd be grateful if we could say hello for him. Back to Duskwood, we can take a peek at the center of the map. You can get there by climbing up the hill north of the main road. Inside is a very large tree and a portal to the Emerald Dream. This grove was created 4,500 years ago, long before this was human lands, from a branch of the World Tree placed here by Fandrel and the Night Elves to combat the old god corruption in the soil. This location had a world boss, one of the green dragons known as the Dragons of Nightmare. They used to be Ysera's lieutenants that guarded the portals, but they were corrupted by the Emerald Nightmare leaking from the portals. There are 3 other portals scattered over Azeroth, created just like this one. It's speculated that the reason the corruption in Duskwood isn't as bad as Deadwind Pass is because the Royal Tree Branch and Emerald Dream Portal help keep the nature's balance. Watcher Dodds is finally alive in his camp. We can let him know we took out the spiders a while ago and the Night Watch is grateful for our services. The Ogre Mound is just west of here, so we head in and grab Abercrombie's crate from beside the cave entrance. Inside the cave we can find Zarkvul, take him down and grab his monocle. He won't be needing it anymore anyway. Back to Abercrombie, he thanks us for bringing his crate back, but not before almost slipping up again. He's a terrible liar. He seems alarmingly excited about having all of his supplies now. Abercrombie gives us a note to bring to Ebenlog. He's apparently friends with him, and he'll just be so happy to know what we've done for Abercrombie. Before that, though, let's clear out more undead in the cemetery. I think this is the 5th time we've been here so far. We take down the 3 skeletal healers, then the 3 skeletal warders in the catacombs, and then the 15 raiders scattered around the northeastern section of the cemetery. Back to Sven, and he cannot doubt our skill in combat. We have a shot at taking down Morbund. We can bring Jitter's journal to Bishop Farthing and Stormwind and let him know we face Morbund Fell. Even though Stormwind has left Duskwood, the bishop may still help us. We can try to read the letter to Ello, but the letters are incomprehensible to us. Ello doesn't know anyone by the name Abercrombie, and is confused to be receiving a letter from him. He also cannot read the letter, though he remarks the language looks ancient. We can give the note to Sira von Indy to decipher. He is knowledgeable about language and the ancient arts. Sira also doesn't know an Abercrombie the Hermit, but can decipher the note. It takes him a few moments to translate it, and once he does, the air grows thick and heavy. It appears that Abercrombie has done something unspeakable, and we need to take the translated letter to Ello immediately. The note reads that he has grave news. He fooled us into aiding him in making his latest creation, a fiend of flesh and bone and twisted metal. It's most likely already outside of his home waiting to go forth and slaughter. Signed, the Embalmer. Yeah, we helped make stitches again. We gave the note to Ello, who lets us know that our actions may have been driven with kindness, but it's going to doom the town. I'm sure they'll be fine. They kill stitches every other couple of hours around here. The Embalmer is a name in a children's story. He was a kind alchemist driven mad with the death of his wife Eliza. To revive her, he placed his own heart within her corpse. This did revive her, but as a zombie, and now she's kept buried. We need to find Eliza's grave, take the Embalmer's heart, and return it to Ello. We bring the monocle to Victory, who can now complete his stargazing device and continue his research. We head to Stormwind and give the journal to Bishop Farthing. He wonders what has cast such a dark shadow over us. We explain with the journal and he understands that an evil has gained a foothold in Duskwood and we mean to face it. Morbund has placed enchantments on himself to protect from physical assaults. If we want to defeat him, we need a weapon to bring his protection down. Within the fleet sunk off the coast of Wetlands was a cache of Lightforge iron. This is a precious commodity, as items made from these ingots strike with holy might. We can talk to Glorin, Steelbrow, and Menethil to see if he knows where the lost cache of metal is. Since we have a few tasks there now, let's go back to Wetlands. On the docks, we ask Vincent Heil about James. He left some time ago to join Jaina Proudmoore's fleet across the sea. After the fighting, he heard James was setting up an inn on the continent somewhere. He hasn't heard from James in a while either, but the clerk in Theramore could point us in the right direction. In the inn, we bring Glorin Steelbrow up to speed with our need for Lightforge iron against the necromancer in Duskwood. In the fleet off the coast, there was one elvish destroyer. It had the Lightforge iron, carrying it with the protection of the fleet and going down with them. The wreck is south of Menethil, and we can search it for the iron. Right behind Glorin is Mikhail, who greets us with much hospitality. We mention Trias, and we need to keep our voices down in here unless we want the whole tavern to know. Now that he knows we are here on behalf of Elling, he's more than eager to help us. The name Slim isn't familiar to him, but he'll keep an ear out. Someone by the exit is listening to us a little too intently. Mikhail advises us to catch the man before he gets away. Tapoke Slim John tries to sneak away, but we beat him down and he agrees to talk. We let Mikhail know we caught Slim. He never thought he'd miss the excitement of the more devious underground activities. We shouldn't let Trias know about that though. If we need anything else, just ask. The Defias didn't pay him near enough to die for their cause. They took the king of Stormwind, Varian Wren. Just straight up kidnapped an entire king. The balls of the Defias. He was on his way to meet Jaina in secret. It's not only the Defias involved, it's a much bigger conspiracy. His part was to get a man named Hendal on the king's ship while it was docked in Menethil. That's all he knows. We, of course, tell Mikhail the big news. No one knows that Varian is missing, though that does explain why Anduin was crowned king recently. He'll let Trias know right away and that we are pursuing the trail. He can't believe Slim sold out Stormwind for so little coin. Even rogues have honor. What we need to do now is find Hendal. He believes one of his regulars from the Marines in Theramore is this Hendal. Commander Samuel in Theramore would be able to track down where he is stationed. We can drop Trias' name to have him help us discreetly. The destroyed elven vessel is actually pretty close, within swimming distance. We check the crate and its siding is broken. It bears the typical claw marks of murlocs having scavenged it. We find one remaining Lightforge ingot, but we'll need more than that for a weapon. I guess it's time to kill murlocs again. We gather up 5 ingots from the Bluegill raiders along the coast, then bring them to Glorin. He'll help us get them made into something useful. Grimmond, Elmore, and Stormwind knows how to use Lightforge ingots. We can bring them to him and explain what we need. He'll most likely oblige our request for a weapon once he knows why we need it. While we're in the wetlands, we can run to the base of the dam and grab a Musquatch root. Since we're moving on to Kalimdor soon, I take a few minutes to drop off quests to do later. I fly to South Shore and talk to Lore Master Dibs. Ogres now dwell in Eltarak and they don't much care for the state of the ruins or books left within them. We can help them later. We then stop at Refuge Point and talk to Skirto. He's busy right now and we can talk to Kryten if we need something. We'll be back later to follow up on this too. While passing through Ironforge, I grabbed the quest from Mechatork we couldn't get earlier. He trusted Thermoplug and never expected his portrayal of the Gnomish people. And for what? Power? Wealth? Well, now that madman is in charge, their homes are radiated and Mechatork and his people displaced. If we wish to help take back Nomergon, his only task is that we kill Mechgineer Thermoplug. We can also talk to Pilot Longbeard, who asks if we've heard of the Shimmering Flats. It's a salt flat in the Thousand Needles in Kalimdor. It's a great place for racing. There is a pair of gnomes out there testing their new rocket car. It's so fast that the pilots keep crashing. They've asked for some helmets for safety, but he's too busy to deliver them, so he's asking us to do it. Back to Stormwind, we can give the Tear of Tillawa and the Musquash root to Sardeth. He's impressed with the samples. Lord Wishawk has a weakness for liquor. He spends his days trying to shut down their tavern, then runs a bill at night that he never pays. Let's see how well he likes the Black Claw Stout Sardeth made. We can deliver it to Wishawk in the Stormwind Keep. We find Wishawk and he's definitely that annoying kind of entitled person. We give him the drink we brought, after being called a servant and patronizingly given some coin. I hope he chokes on it. Or straight up dies, I guess. Who cares? If the last 3 episodes have taught me anything, it's that the Stormwind nobles are assholes who don't deserve my sympathy. We can bring Grimmond the crate of ingots. He hasn't seen this iron in years, and it comes with quite the tale. He's honored to craft it for us, and we must come back to tell the tale of the battle against the necromancer. The weapon is crafted, and we can bring it to Sven. Back to Duskwood, Sven is ecstatic about the weapon we have brought. We can finally bring down Morbin Fell. The necromancer can be found at his house in the cemetery atop the hill. The weapon we brought will render his protections useless. We will be the instrument of his revenge and save Duskwood. So, don't be like us and forget to equip the weapon. It has a 30-second cooldown before you can use it. It's fine though, even with the 30-second invulnerability window, Morbent goes down easy. We let Sven know we defeated Morbent. The Dark Riders are still a problem, but at least a part of the corruption has been dealt with. We have managed the impossible and our deeds will live on in Duskwood. I get a decent pair of pants for this. Behind Abercrombie's hut we find a grave. There is the remains of a coffin that vibrates with scraping claws and gnashing teeth. We open the coffin and release Eliza, who calls for Abercrombie. She thinks he sent us as a meal. Well, too bad we're here for her heart, or for more precisely, the embalmer's heart. We can give the heart to Elo, who can feel the evil within and the aegis that is surrounding the town. This will save the town and we will be remembered for this deed. You know, saving them from our own naivety. The new shoulder pads are appreciated. This concludes Duskwood, but we can clear up a bit more here in the human lands, namely the Stormwind Stockade dungeon. My friend had to leave for a trip before we could finish recording, so I ended up doing the Stockades with a random group. We clear the first cells and finish off the 10 Defias prisoners. Inside the northmost room we can take down and grab the head of Targor, count 42. We clear out cells heading west and find Dextrin Ward in the southwestmost cell. He goes down and we grab his hand. Heading east we finish off the Defias insurgents we need and find Cam Deep Fury. He goes down in the mob and we grab his head, count 43. In the east main chamber we find Hamhawk, a random ogre that isn't part of any quest and doesn't drop any loot. It's almost like Blizzard forgot he was a boss. We find the 10 bandanas we need from the convicts, finish killing the 8 convicts we need, and find Basil Thread in the eastmost cell. He doesn't seem to want to talk, so we take him down in his pack of guards, collecting his head after. Count 44. Back outside, the group disbands and I can talk to Thelwater. I let him know I murdered all of the Defias prisoners and he thanks me for my efforts in saving his job. Next I give him Basil's head, and with the leader dead, hopefully the riots will settle down. He wasn't expecting me to return, but was proven wrong. Since Basil wasn't in a talking mood, Thelwater can tell me a few things about him. When Basil was first imprisoned, he didn't receive any visitors. They assumed the Defias had abandoned him. A few months ago, he started getting weekly visits from a strange, quiet man. His documents named him as Malik, with a description I can follow up on with Alexton. I drop off the description with Alexton and he doesn't recognize the name or description. The only lead we have is the Defias are former stonemasons. Malik seems to be well connected, so perhaps someone else might recognize him. Matthias Shaw owes Alexton a favor. He keeps his sights on the shadier or underhanded deals in the city. I can ask him if he knows Malik. In Old Town, I drop off the bandanas that Nikova wanted. These meager tokens are what Malik had to die for. I have brought justice to her family. In SI7, I give Matthias a description of Malik. He thinks he knows who it is, but they aren't called Malik. Assassins use many names, and this one also goes by Marzon, though this is also not likely to be his true name. He is currently employed by Lord Gregor Leskovar, a shady individual even with the poor reputation of Stormwind's nobles. With Van Cleef and Thread killed by our own hand, it will be difficult to bring Leskovar to justice with only our circumstantial evidence, as the nobility can easily bring themselves above the law. I can ask Trias for help with this. Trias is annoyed that Shaw is asking for help again, especially with the Defias Brotherhood. What's next? Deathwing attacking the city? What's with humans and predicting their future disasters with sarcasm? I can tell him everything from the beginning and don't skimp on the details. In order to resolve this, I will need to use some not entirely legal justice. Some vigilante justice, if you will. I will need to take care of Leskovar and Marzon. Am I being hired as a hitman by the Stormwind Mafia right now? I suppose it wouldn't be the first time I've been offered a reward to kill somebody. I can talk to Tyrion for help as he is currently watching Leskovar. In Stormwind Keep, I can find Tyrion, who seems to have been startled by my approach. He also predicts the dark portal opening with sarcasm again. I need to be quick about what I want before the guards notice us hiding in the bushes. He can push up the confrontation with Leskovar, but he's not ready. While he's doing the hard part of luring the noble into an ambush, we need to do the actual deed. I need to gather items to disguise his spy bot to get past the guards. I have silk from the stockade, but I also need apples from a farm just outside the city. Outside the main gate, I can grab apples from Clara's house. Back to Tyrion, he mentions that Trias has been watching Leskovar for weeks, but didn't know he had been involved with the Brotherhood. Their leads were from the Twilight Hammer, the old god cult. He has the rest of the gear he needs to disguise the Spybot, so Tyrion will detail the plan going forward. With the disguise on, Spybot will get past the guards and talk to Leskovar. Tyrion sent a message to Marzon, pretending to be Leskovar wanting a meeting. He even used false information to lure him. Leskovar will come to this garden, dismiss the guards, then talk to Marzon. Once we have proof of guilt, I will step in and kill them before the guards return. Tyrion disguises the Spybot as Priestess Tyronia, who gets through the guards and leads Leskovar to the garden. Marzon arrives and they talk as if the news of Van Cleef's and Basil's death hasn't gotten around yet, the false information implicating Shaw in snooping around the Defias. Tyrion directs me to kill them, so I sheep Leskovar and take them down one at a time. Back to Trias, he thanks me for my discretion in the matter. He'll keep an eye on me as I progress within the Alliance. I can let Shaw know about Leskovar and the plots he had within the city. He'll most likely herald me as a hero and have me meet with the prince or another noble. I shouldn't let the recognition get to my head, the nobles don't rule as much as they think they do. Shaw is impressed with how swift my justice is. It is a great service to the Stormwind people. Alexton came looking for me, most likely for an update on the Defias business. I can share what I know, but should keep the dispatching of Leskovar and involving Trias to myself. Alexton seems to have figured out the demise of Leskovar was my doing anyway, but thanks me for saving many people from Van Cleef's revenge. He made a report for the king detailing everything we have found about the Defias. No doubt he will commend me for doing my duty to the people. I best hurry to the keep. Let's read the note before handing it over. It details the history of the stonemasons and the rebuilding of the city, being left unpaid, and Van Cleef speaking out about the injustice of this. When all this did was have the nobles disband the stonemasons, this led to the riots and the stonemasons leaving the city. This is when Alexton took his current job, under the stipulation he did not join Van Cleef, and Basil Thread was arrested and imprisoned at the Stockades. Westfall was already unprotected, and Van Cleef took advantage, taking over the farms and gold mines. This led to the plan to get retribution on the Stormwind government. I am to give this report to Lady Katrana Prestor, an advisor to Anduin. She commends us for our actions as, if Van Cleef's plan had succeeded, it would have led to considerable harm to the kingdom. I get a ring as a token of appreciation on behalf of Varian, as he is away on a diplomatic mission right now. I wonder if I should tell her I know the king has been kidnapped. Not my monkeys, not my problem to keep the nobility informed of their own political nightmares. This ring is really good, having a spread of all of the main stats, so I can finally get rid of the minus stamina ring. I head back to Duskwood and bring the Hand of Dextrin to Millstrip. With the Hand of Dextrin as proof, Ebonlaw can give the families of the defiled dead the closure they deserve and send a message to the nobles of Stormwind. They need to rise to the needs of the people of Duskwood, or they will break free from their tyranny. I head to Redridge and bring the head of Targon to Burton. He is glad to know the orc is now dead and I have done well. Sometimes true justice can only be found outside of a courtroom and beyond politics. I head to Dunmodurin Wetlands and deliver the head of Deep Fury. Motley feels that he deserves to pay for his crimes permanently instead of rotting in a human prison. His fate serves the cowardly dwarf right. The victims of the Thandal span have been avenged and their families will have peace knowing the perpetrator has been properly dealt with. Since I am moving on to Ashenvale next episode, let's drop off a few quests in Theramore for later. The boat and Mantle Harbor will get us there. In the main keep, I can ask Clerk Lendry about James Hyle. He was apparently part of an incident involving the Shady Rest Inn. If I have any information, he urges us to talk to Captain Vimes. I talk to Commander Samuel, who is in charge of Jaina's forces in Theramore. He's quite busy, but can spare some time for questions if we need help. I should be careful if I plan to leave the city, as ogres, orcs, murlocs, and black dragons roam the swamp. Thank you so much for watching my video. I release a new video every second Sunday. This concludes the Human Kingdom questline for now. There is still more intrigue to find in Theramore, but it'll be a while before we start this area. We can find out more about the Night Elves and Orcs next time in Ashenvale, as well as finally do Black Phantom Devs. It will be a little silly to do it at level 34, but we're here for the exploration vibes, not efficiency. From now on, I will be attempting to do both the Alliance and Horde side of a zone at the same time. Ashenvale will be the test video on just how much work that will be. If the video starts going over an hour, I will most likely split areas into Horde and Alliance parts, unless my viewers are okay with longer videos. Any feedback is welcome as I am figuring out the structure of the series in real time here. See you next time.